Hey everyone, it's Donna Cravata, and we are live again with another interview with the Real 50 over 50, the Wisdom Revolution. We're now the Real 50 over, um, the Real 77 over 50. um, but, uh, okay, Facebook just bombed again. So if you're watching on Facebook, come on over to LinkedIn. Anyway, back to the business at hand. We are here today again with a live interview with Dennise Kowalcyk. Did I say that right?
You Here, I'm going to give you the special.
Okay.
Yes, you said it right, Donna. And just to
Okay.
clarify, that is not a Zoom feature or video app feature or a StreamYard. It's a Mac operating system feature. So there you go.
Okay. All right. So we're here with Dennise today, and Dennise does so many things. So we're going to have this interview a little different than we usually do. But I'm just going to introduce her quickly, and we are going to have our conversation based around all the various things that she does. So Dennise is an entrepreneur, a world traveler, a filmmaker, an actor, an explorer, the founder of CTD Creative Consulting. She's also a business relationship consultant, and I've seen this in action. And she's a second act, multi passionate creative who loves to teach and bring others together in order to connect. Yes, she's all of those things. So, do you want to add anything before we dive right in?
No, I think that is a lot of stuff, but yeah, I think that's good. I mean, I'm a mom as well, but
She's a mom.
and other things, but yeah. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, we are going to start with we'll start with her actual business. We're going to talk about each one of the things she does, and through that you'll learn more about Dennise and we'll have an interesting conversation. So tell us a little bit about CTD Creative Consulting and how you
Yes.
help women business owners with
Sure.
marketing
So
strategies.
I am sort of an accidental solopreneur, if you will, and it was the best thing that happened about 4.5, 5 years ago. But it started out as a side hustle of providing LinkedIn consulting help, strategy for nonprofit consultants. Fast forward to late 2019, and I had an opportunity. The planets aligned, the universe spoke and said, no more nonprofit work for you, young lady. Well, young lady. And I was having dreams about going to prison as I was interviewing for jobs in my new home state of Rhode Island. And I don't have a criminal mind, but I'm like, why am I having nightmares about going to prison? And it was a call from the universe to make some changes. So I decided to go full time with my business. And whether this was a proper way, but it's a common way, I figured I was going to do all things digital marketing for all people to see what was fun, what people needed help with, and explore my role, my first time role as a business owner.
Yeah.
Scary, scary adventure. But here I am still talking about it and loving it. And since that time, what I do is I focus on supporting women solopreneurs with their online presence, because you got to have one, and how to connect with others, whether referral partners, potential clients, peers in the industry, to collaborate, but figuring out how to really deepen your relationships with folks. We were talking off camera, and that was, I am a relationship person. I'm not a nice to know you, get out of here. I'd like to make friends, and I'd like to connect folks to one another and connect folks to resources. So that's what I do. I help women who have businesses, basically service-based businesses, um, leverage their online presence and their relationships to help grow their business.
That's great. It's so important
Yeah.
because when it comes down to it, it's all about relationships. Those are the things that don't change. It's very hard to build a business around one specific thing because everything changes so rapidly. It took me a couple of years in business to figure out, you know, focus on the anchors, focus on the things that don't change.
Mhm.
And then you can have some stability and some longevity in this very weird world we're part of.
And as a solopreneur,
Yeah.
emphasis on that solo, it can be a pretty lonely experience. I don't have a team. I'm a solopreneur. So I really rely on my community of other women business owners to either mastermind together, troubleshoot, support one another, share resources so I don't feel so alone. And I've met incredible women, case in
Mhm.
point, Donna, and others through this journey by connecting and building relationships with folks. And it's been great fun.
And it's also so important to, like, have that community because there's only so much we can do. And, the imposter syndrome really sets in if you don't have somebody to, talk about the ups and the downs and the sideways with. And what do we actually focus on and what do we let go of? We have to do that every day,
You
because it's
make an
coming at us so fast.
excellent point because sometimes I think I'm special, but I'm really not that special when it comes to navigating certain things in your business life. And when I have maybe lost a major client or didn't expect this to come out of left field or what have you. And then I start panicking or having anxiety about like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm going to be eating cat food next week, and
Oh,
then,
the cat food scenario.
and then realizing, wait a minute, girl, you're 4.5 years into this and you haven't had to eat that cat food
Yeah,
yet. I can't
you haven't even
figure it
boiled
out.
it down to just toast yet. You got plenty of room.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So it's just keeping that talk of self-doubt, which that's my version of imposter syndrome. As soon as the challenge appears and they're inevitable, I start to
Yeah,
doubt myself. So to be reminded from friends and other women, whether they're business owners or not, that
yeah,
hello, I think you're making that stuff up. um,
yeah.
it's really helpful.
It really is, it really is. Okay, so now let's move on to the next thing that you do, the adventure broad. I always love
Yes.
a good broad. So,
Okay, so this is
how
a
you
story
dress it
about
up?
the
You dress it up like a Christmas tree.
Well, I was in Scotland for the first time in October 2022 to visit my daughter, Lila, who goes to college at St. Andrews. And I started world traveling 5 or so years ago. But I was in Scotland and I remember I was just sitting there and thinking, gosh, I love traveling. I'm a storyteller. I love, all right, I document my life on social media because I live alone. So I might have to talk to someone about that. But I love sharing my life experiences with other people because I have heard from folks, I can't do that because of XYZ, but I get to live through it with you because you're sharing those stories. Or, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to do that. Now I'm going to do it. I'm going to go travel by myself, for example. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to call myself? And I'm like, I am such a broad. I'm a total broad. And I think I looked up one definition. Um, it's not quite a lady, but not quite a bitch. And
Mhm.
I don't know if that's the Webster dictionary definition, but I'm like, oh yeah, that's totally me. I'm a total broad. And thanks, Cameron. And what I found was like, I love adventure. And what is lovely is I used to be, I'll say, risk adverse. Um, and now, over the last 5 years, and certainly entering my 50s, I'm like, whatever, I'm going to
Yeah.
take a chance. If it sucks or if I suck, moving on. And I'm becoming more of a risk taker, and adventure is part of that. So I changed my handle on Instagram. You can follow me on at the Adventure Broad there. And I'm trying to figure out a way to do more with these experiences to help other women to find their own inner adventure broad. Because I feel sad when I talk to another woman and I hear, golly, I wish I could have done that. I wish I would have done that. And that regret. And I made a decision a long time ago. Regret is not part of my life experience. there have been moments, of course, but I'm really aware and conscious of that. But if I can help another woman say, you know what, I'm going to try that because I am feeling brave and courageous. And if I can support them in any way in that, oh, that just really floats my boat. I love that so much because, again, we were talking off camera on this. Collaboration is really important pretty much in everything I do. And it's not that I'm not an independent person. I travel the world independently and I go out to movies and dinners by myself, but it's a lot of fun to do it with someone else.
Mhm.
So in those conversations, um, and if I can collaborate with someone, whether it's getting information or an introduction or whatever it is, for them to try something they've been waiting to do, I just love that so much.
Yeah, it is. It's fun, and then you get to experience it all again through somebody else's eyes.
Yeah, yeah. So I have big plans yet articulated regarding the Adventure Broad because I want to do more with it. And so um, I'm looking forward to developing that. And we're going to talk a little bit later about my film. I'm not, I guess
Mhm,
I should say I'm an aspiring filmmaker, but I'm optimistic that I will be a filmmaker. I'm also an aspiring playwright, but more on that later. And acting, I think we're going to talk about that later as well.
mhm. Yeah, and I am going to connect you. I don't know if you've connected yet with Tracy Higginbotham, who is one
No,
and part of this group as well.
no.
She has women do sports related adventures with her.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
gotcha. I would love that introduction.
yeah,
Thank you for
yeah.
being a relationship connector.
Well, that's what this is all about. This is about
Great.
sharing stories, connecting women. I really think, I mean, we are really just getting started, but I think that the magic will really happen with all of this as the connective tissue between all of
I know.
us
I love
grows.
it. Collaboration, you're talking my talk there.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm the only one right now that knows everybody that's in this thing,
Mhm.
and it wakes me up at night. It
Hmm.
literally wakes me up, not in a good way, because I get
Oh,
so
okay, okay.
excited. I get so excited. I'm like, "Oh my god," I start to think, like, "What if this one met this one and this happened?" And what I'm gonna start to do, 'cause I've only been doing this, like, on a small scale because I'm trying to be mindful of what I could actually do,
Mhm,
because I'm doing it all myself.
mhm.
But, I don't wanna start something that I can't support. And, but every time I do connect people, it's magic.
Yeah,
It is absolute magic.
I love
So I
it.
wanna start sharing those stories of what
Yes.
happens when people connect.
I love that because, 1, I'm a storyteller, and, speaking of which, you know Jane Pauley, right? So, I just finished an audiobook, Reinventing Your Life, and it's targeting, people 50 and older, and, you know, she's a former journalist. She
Mhm,
is a storyteller, and it's I highly recommend, the book. I would get the audiobook 'cause she's narrating it, and all it is filled with stories, and pretty much every story involves more than one person, so connecting and having those cosmic
mhm,
serendipitous moments, and then your life changes, which is really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I actually realized something this week. I had a doctor's appointment, and, there was another woman there that, like, needed the appointment more than I did, and they
Mhm.
screwed up her appointment. So I said, "Take my appointment. I'll take whatever they give you. I have a flexible schedule. I live 5 minutes away. It's not a big deal."
Mhm.
I was blown away by the fact that nobody does that.
The kindness, and you're gonna get the next thing I need to
Nobody
show
does
you.
that.
You're getting the hearts.
Ooh. So but what I realized is I realized something that I never realized before. What I do is I advocate for other people.
Yeah.
And I never realized that before, but I was just so taken aback because, like, the people that worked in the doctor's office were like, "I can't believe you did that." I was like, "What do you mean? Like, what is the big deal? Like, I could do this. Like, I'm not in a like, this was a checkup. It wasn't anything critical."
Mhm.
And I have a flexible schedule and I live 5 minutes away. So what's like, I'm sure I'm not the only one that has a flexible schedule and
But
lives 5
you
minutes away.
practice radical generosity is the term. I was listening to a podcast and she was talking about that. Um, I give the milk away for free. I know I get my metaphors mixed up, but so laugh with me when I do that. But giving is a key thing in my life experience. And that radical generosity is a key value. So I totally get that. And I see Cameron's posting a question. So yeah, if you go to the link tree that Donna's sharing, there will be a link for Dames Who Do Rhode Island, which is the local adventures, if you will. And then that'll point you right to that website, Cameron,
Okay,
for asking.
cool. Good. So now let's get back on track with what our adventure brought us up to. So the next thing our adventure brought us up to is amplification allies.
Okay. Okay. So it is about the power of collaboration. So a little backstory on that. I had a long career in non-commercial radio in Portland, Oregon. And towards the end of my time in that world, I produced a radio interview series called Worthy Women. So I would bring women in and they would tell their stories, very much like what you're doing, right, Donna? We're amazing women. And I interviewed a gal, and of course her name is escaping me. But if you go to my link tree, my website, you can get through and find out more about it. But she was telling the story of amplification in her book. I'll try to do the short version. It was during one presidential, I think it was Obama who was in office, and all his leaders would meet with the president for their weekly whatever. And the women were discovering that one of two things was happening in those meetings. One, they never were asked or had the floor, or if they said something, they were dismissed. And then, or they would make a suggestion and it was brushed off. And then 15 minutes later, one of the guys in the room would say the same thing. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's the best thing since sliced bread, right? So instead of, getting angry, they decided to get even. No, that's not what they did. But they said, you know what? When we're in the meetings, let's have each other's back. Let's amplify. So if I say something and it's ignored, you get the floor. You say, you know what? Donna just shared a great idea about polka dots. And I want to say we should also include stripes. Or if John Smith steals Donna's idea or takes it as his own, when you get the floor, say, oh my gosh, John, that's so brilliant because Donna just mentioned that 15 minutes ago. And yes, polka dots seem to be the clear answer. I was so inspired by that. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do that in the digital space. And so when I meet people on Zoom or in person, I will do an amplification post on LinkedIn and give a little shout out about who they are and our commonalities or some other things. So my circle is introduced to that person. And I ask, and it's not mandatory, to share the post in their space. So their circle gets to meet a new person as well.
And that's what all of this is, because the way I view this and the thing that wakes me up in the middle of the night is that this is a big, giant, organic marketing experiment.
Yes, exactly. And when I riffed off on that, I want to make sure I mention this too, because you have it on the reader board here or whatever the title, is that for the past year, I did a beta test of bringing 5 other women in B2B to be really intentional about cross promoting one another. So peer networking, very intentional. And to say, okay, how can we amplify each other in the world? And so we focused on LinkedIn as the platform of choice and then started expanding in other areas. Oh, let's spotlight each other in each other's e-newsletter. Let's do all kinds of ways to support one another. So I stepped away from that group, yet they're still meeting. And I'm like, yay, please keep meeting. And then I'm going to be developing an offer of a
Mhm.
community of sorts, based on my lessons learned through that. So more to come on that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, and honestly, I mean, this is how I've done this for 17 years now, and it's always been like that. Even before social media started,
Mhm. Mhm.
I've been doing it that way. I never do ads.
Yeah.
I just find the people I wanna connect with, and I connect,
There you
and
go.
then I connect them to somebody else, and it works, and for the most part, what I see is that people try to build a business that they don't even actually want because 'cause they're following what somebody
Mhm.
else did, and
Yeah.
they're doing a bunch of things that they just don't need to do, and it's
Yeah.
really quite simple when you boil it down to what you actually need,
Yeah.
and that's what this is. It's just, like, most of the people I work with, they need 20 clients a year.
Mhm.
And they're building this big giant marketing monstrosity
Yeah.
that's stressful and expensive and unnecessary.
Yeah, and get thoughtful
Yeah.
about what are your goals. And I'm also, I'm not a fan of algorithm stuff. I mean, I know it's a reality, okay? But when I'm in the digital space, it's always coming back to the real relationship stuff. So it's like, oh, if you want better, views on your Instagram post, do reels or video. Well, I don't feel like doing a video. I'm
Yeah.
just going to show photos, and I take really good photographs and share a story.
Mhm.
And if it's 10 people or 110 or whatever, okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I always like to keep it coming back to that center of, at the end of the day, people do business with people,
Yeah.
not likes, clicks, and algorithms.
Exactly, and if you would have pushed yourself to do that video, you would not have come across as yourself because
Mm.
you didn't wanna do it, you would not have been comfortable, and that's what would have shown.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I
Exactly.
like to equate it to you, market from your heart or you market
Mhm.
from your liver.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's always keeping true to yourself. I never want to
Yeah.
feel fake.
No,
What you
no.
see is what you get with the adventure broad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, as soon as you bring broad into it, there is no bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
All
Exactly.
right, well, since we're on the marketing conversation, I'm just gonna do a little sidebar before we get back to all of your many avenues.
Okay.
Okay, let's just, talk about this for a minute, because when I saw this on something that I was reading about that you shared with me, I was like, "Oh, we could have a really good conversation
Yeah.
about this because we both come from the same place."
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I will say, full disclosure, as a business owner, I too, it's very meta. I'm learning, right? I'm always learning. I don't know everything, and
No.
nor will I ever. Okay. But what's fascinating, is sales and marketing are obviously connected, but they're very two, as you know, and I'm sure many people watching right now, or the few who are watching, are very distinct and different. So when I hear, oh, I created a Facebook page, but I didn't get any customers, and it's been 30 whole minutes. And it's okay. Um, well, that's community building, that's brand awareness, connection. That's not really a sales tool.
Mm,
And I work with nonprofits too, because even though you can take the girl out of nonprofit, you can't take the nonprofit out of the girl. So I have a few clients, and they get confused between marketing and fundraising. So they must sync up. You can't have one without the other, but they're very different. What are your thoughts on it?
I've done work with nonprofits too and had to
Mm.
have the conversation, like, if you because they wanted me to give them, like, all of these ridiculous stats that would have taken me, like, hours and hours and hours every month to produce that meant absolutely nothing, and I would say to them, "Is the phone ringing more?" "Yes." "Are you
Mhm.
getting more people in the door?" "Yes." "Are you getting more donations?" "Well, not more, but they're higher."
Mm.
"Okay, then this is working."
Mhm. I mean, there is value with data to a certain degree, but you can get lost in that
They can get
because
lost in
the
it.
anecdotal
Yeah.
information is important. And I will say this, because this has come up with my work in being a strategist, but also a provider of the direct services, the content creation, and so forth, and so on. You do have to pay attention. You just don't do things for the sake of doing it and not look at it and say, well, has there been any shift or any change? But the anecdotal understanding of what that impact is important,
Yeah.
right? Just to your point, has there been a change? It's not going to be immediate
No, it's not
either.
gonna be immediate, and you're not gonna be able to pinpoint it back to the exact thing because people will follow you, and particularly this was a nonprofit and it was a mental health agency, so
Mhm.
people were lurkers. I mean, their audience, they're gonna lurk. They're not gonna say anything, they're not gonna share it, they're not gonna
Mhm.
post. Um, they're just gonna lurk. So, we had to be aware of, like, where the spikes were happening, and that
Mhm.
was, how you measure that with some degree of accuracy. And, we would run campaigns around certain things and then monitor, are the calls coming in? Are people coming in the door? Because the goal was to get people to come in for
Mhm.
help. That was the
Right.
real goal, is to, make sure that people were coming in, and they were. And they were just like, well, but we didn't get any more followers. And it's like, it doesn't matter. The people that are following are the people that need to be following. And it
Right.
was just really hard to explain that to them, and they just didn't get it. And, as far as my feeling on this, um, it's about visibility, and it's about being visible to the
Mhm.
right people. And the one thing that people so often overlook is listening,
Yes.
because when you listen first, then you can find where your audience is, and then you can find, you can listen to what they're saying, what they're sharing, read between the lines. What podcasts are they listening to? What books are they reading? What do they care about? And when then you can create your marketing, your products, your sales around the thing that this audience that you want to connect with already cares about and likes and has a
Mhm.
vested interest in, you'll be more successful and you'll actually serve the audience you want to serve. But too often people get clouded with, the big, do a big explosion.
Or do all the things. And
Do
I'm like,
all the things. And it's just,
in any business, you need many things, but two main things, right? Time
yeah,
and money,
yeah,
right? And many of us solopreneurs, well, I know there's still only 24 hours in a day, and I'm not working 24 hours a day, but and finances, right? It's a little bit, you know what that finite amount is. So it's like, okay, how do I do what I need to do to build awareness about what I'm bringing into the world based on that capacity
exactly.
and the realistic. And if
Yeah.
it is just you and you don't have all the time in the world and all the money in the world to bring people in and da 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 da, da, it's going to take you a little bit longer. But that doesn't mean you throw in the towel.
No, and it also doesn't mean that you just go for the quick hits, because the quick hits don't build a sustainable business.
No.
And, like, I have a client now who was waiting for the big splash, and I said, "You know what? When you," she said explosion. I
Yeah.
said, "When you have the explosion, you have to repaint the walls." That's what I told her.
Oh, nice
I said,
one.
"Well, what about if we just take a step back
Yeah.
and build a sustainable plan that you can use year after year after year?" And she was like, "Oh, well, that sounds good, I guess."
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing. Planning. I just read something. It's not right here, but the benefits of planning. Eh, you can. I think we spoke to this earlier in our conversation. There's a lot of unpredictability, the ups and downs of business ownership, and when you have planning in place, when those inevitable things hit and knock you kind of off your balance, you can go back to your plan and it
Mhm.
gets you right back on track. And you're not like, where were we? What are we doing? What am I doing? You have a plan to go back to, and
Yeah,
you can be more and right. It's easier to focus. And you're not like, what do we need to do? Well, we know what we need to do. We have a
yeah,
plan.
yeah.
I love planning.
And
I'm a
and
planner.
that also comes into play when something positive comes along too, because opportunities come up,
Mhm.
and not every opportunity is a yes. So how do you measure that against what you already have planned?
I have trouble with that, Donna.
Yeah.
I like to
Alright,
say yes,
I
yes,
could tell
yes.
because now we're gonna go back to
Okay.
our original
Mm.
plan. You've
Oh my
also
gosh.
been
Okay.
to Rhode Island.
All right. So I'll try to be as succinct. I'm a storyteller. I use my hands a lot. Anyway, so the Dames of Rhode Island, I started acting a couple of years ago. I'm an accidental actor. It just fell into it. Clickbait on Facebook got me on The Gilded Age. And so then the acting bug bit. I said, I'm going to go for it. Now I just turned 59 in this month in November at the time of this conversation. And, there aren't a plethora of opportunities regardless, like there were when I was in my 30s. Okay. And I thought, well, if I can't find the opportunities, I'm going to create the opportunity. So I thought, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to make a movie. And I'm going to base it on celebrating adult women friendship, because there's all these stats about loneliness as we get older, how much harder it is for adults to make new friends. But the other side of that coin is when you have deep relationships, it's a beautiful thing, and it invigorates you as a human. And, I give myself, I don't know, a good 20 years left. I mean, all right, I'm almost 60. 20 years puts me at 80. Let's do the math. Hopefully I'm this active and this healthy and so forth beyond 80, but I'm giving that time frame of reference. And I'm going to die, okay, at some point. And, I don't want to die lonely and alone. So my friendships are really, really important to me. So I wanted to create a story with some drama. You're going to have to wait, but to celebrate how it is a beautiful thing when women of a certain age come together and forge new friendships. And, back in my younger day, it really was a quantity. I wanted to be the belle of the ball and make thousands of friends. And this was before social media, da-di-da-di-da. But now I find myself at a place, it's really about the quality.
Yeah.
So when I'm meeting folks, whether business friends or personal friends, I want to have meaningful. That's not 100% deep dives every time I talk to my friends, but that is a really important value for me. So the film, The Dames of Rhode Island, and there's a link in the link tree as well, is going to represent that. So my new thing is, and I was just talking to a gal I met who's an actor, and we're both members of Women in Film and Video New England. I want to give them a shout out. We met we chatted with each other at this annual meeting, and she's going to be part of the project because I talked to her about it. She's like, oh my God, I love this. So I'm hoping I think she's going to be an actor in portraying one of my characters. Well, she's also a playwright. And I said, you know what? And this is a big reveal here. I'm putting it out to the universe. I want to prepare a stage version of this story for Fringe Fest PVD. August 2024, okay, is when it happens. So I'm going to talk with her and say, what knowledge can you share with me on being a playwright? She's like, oh, I want to do some filmmaking and be a screenwriter. What can you share with me? We're both novices, but we're sharing knowledge and resources and support one another. And that goes back to the collaboration. I was on set a few weeks ago, met this young woman, Annalise, an actor. She's also a filmmaker. She's in her 21, I think she is. And I said, I want to learn from you. Okay. She goes, oh my gosh, do you want to be a crew member on my film? I said, yes. And she goes, oh, I'd love to be involved in your project. Can I be your producer? I said, let's talk about it. So this creative collaboration is really key. So I'm super excited about this. And so I'm, like I said, I'm putting it out there, a stage version. We'll see what happens, but I'm working on a proof of concept short as the first step in bringing the Dames of Rhode Island in the visual sense, film sense, then do fundraising to do a feature film.
Exciting.
I'm so excited. And also, I co-founded a thing called She PVD. I don't know if you caught that on any of my social, if I can share, if I may. When I moved here 5 years ago from Oregon, there was an experience, Siren Nation Fest in Portland, Oregon area, celebrating women artists. And I said, oh, is there anything like this in Rhode Island? And I couldn't find anything. So I'm like, okay, well, if it's not here, let's create it. Well, it's taken 5 years, and found a collaborator. She's co-founding it, Alyssa, and we are bringing it to Providence on March 7th, 2024 at AS 220. And it's going to be a 2-hour evening event, 7 to 9, to celebrate women performer artists of Rhode Island. So I just spoke to Val of Rhode Island Black Storytellers. She's on board. Allison Callery, who's a local musician, she is interested in being a performer. We're going to have an all-female improv, I believe. I've talked to a couple of new friends who are poets. Samantha, Christina, no pressure. I'll be following up. Hopefully have them share some poetry. And I'm looking for an all-female band. So if anyone has any leads on to check that out, I'm going to reach out to a local nonprofit called Riot, which is all about bringing women, identified, socialized, whatever, the whole gamut, to do ensemble musical groups and such. So I'm super excited about that, but it's collaborative and it's creativity, I'm so excited. So a lot of fun stuff going on. And I have other things, but I don't have enough time to share those.
All right. So we are over time, but I
We're over
just want
time.
to I just want to end with one thing. Okay. What does freedom mean to you?
Freedom means I don't have to answer to anyone but myself. I get to make choices. I get to be friends with who I want to be friends with. I can help others with the resources and knowledge to pursue what they'd like to pursue in life. Freedom to think and learn. It's not about, oh, you're 59, you're dead to the world. Hello. No, I'm not, but freedom to explore. Now, I want to also add this caveat. I think it's important. I'm single, no children at home. So I have a lot more time that gives me freedom to do all the things that I get to do in my life. And I feel very, very lucky and blessed to be able to do that. So I want to acknowledge that. But freedom is to be open-hearted and risk-taking, and to learn how to embrace and welcome more failure in my life. Because that's how we learn. Yeah.
Say more.
Well, I think failure gets a bum rap. I know when I heard that F word, it used to make me cry. It would make me fearful to try things. And I have learned that I've, failed a lot. And I feel when I've done that, I've learned a skill of saying, okay, I effed up. What can I learn from it? For acknowledging it, right? The awareness. What can I learn from it? Do I never want to do that again? Or do I need to fail and F up a little bit more to really learn a lesson in that? And it doesn't make me less of a person because I failed. I've been challenging the perfectionist in me for a couple of decades now. And I think she's almost gone. And I think part of it is failing. And I think it might, I read and I listen to so many podcasts. So I'm going to give Jane Pauley credit for this in this book that I just listened to, unless it was another resource. So forgive me, where her father, every night at dinner would say, okay, how did you mess up today? And if there was no mess up, he was kind of disappointed. But like when he said, oh yeah, I tried out for the play and I didn't get the part. Oh my God, that's great. Tell me, what did you learn? And they learn that courage to say, oh, okay, failing's okay, because it takes you to the next level.
It's an intersection.
Yeah. So that was a long answer to that question, but
it is an intersection. That's great. I love it. So on that note, connect with Dennise in all of her many, 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 many places to keep up with all of these fabulous things that she's doing. And join us back next week when we'll be live again with another interview. And we've got a really good panel coming up for December as well. It's going to be a little different, and I'm going to be announcing that soon. And we're also going to have panels monthly. So I'm putting together a whole plan for 2024 and beyond of a monthly panel, in addition to the weekly interviews. So stay tuned because we are just getting started.
Donna, this has been such a treat. Thank you so much for including me in this adventure of
We
connecting more women.
wouldn't do it without it. We need as many broads as we can get our hands on.
I love that.
Okay, everybody, we'll be back next week.